Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
happy to see you.
But I see only you, Mo. I
Why
can't see
don't
other
you
participants.
put the lights on?
Hi, Anna. Well,
Oh,
Anna's screen just on, and Jeff's is on an iPad, so maybe
ah,
that's a reason that maybe whoever speaks pops up first.
yeah,
Can I
yeah.
see others now?
I will try to find gallery option.
Oh, I can see all of you guys. Great.
Don't forget to record.
Yes, now it is. You want to say hi?
After.
Okay. Greg is catching the train to Madrid, and in a couple of days we have Laura, our artist in resident, coming. So he's there to meet her.
Nice.
Laura is the lady.
Yeah.
She was in last
Yes.
meeting?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
She's
Exactly.
from the States, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And she's coming all the way here. It's not her
Wow.
first time in Madrid, in Spain. I met her last year during another art fair. She was interested in getting in touch, so I said, why don't we meet at the art fair? So I took her around the fair, and then she loved the fair experience, and she's like, why don't I come back to do the residency in Arco? So during the Arco Art Week, the busiest, the most art-themed week of of the art world in Southern Europe. So that's what she did. So we are very excited. She couldn't join because she's literally in the flight to do several transfers, and probably next time we speak again, she'll be on our side of the screen.
Great.
Yeah. How are you, Anna?
Good. So are your residents staying for like a month?
Yeah, usually it's a month, like as the minimum, because usually, in order to have any kind of outcome, so they need to spend, let's say, 4 weeks to even see some progress. So it's education based. We coach, we share our experience, we take this artist around locally as well, if there's an opportunity like the art fairs or any other events. So it's a bit of everything. Like if we spend a week just showing her Arco, Art Madrid, Urban Art Fair, Serenity, Hotel Art Fair, there's a shopping mall art fair. There are like 5, 6 different art fairs. So she'll spend a week with me just touring the art fairs, and then the rest of the few weeks with Greg, being coached 5 times a week, 1 hour every day, more or less. And in the end of the minimum 4 weeks, but she chose to stay 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks, also is a long way to come here. So she want to take advantage.
Nice, nice. And is she also making work when she's there?
Yeah, that's maybe something in the future we have to find a better way. Is that our artists, they do work during the residency with the coaching of Greg or me, depending on what kind of help. So yeah, they work. But if we do a lot of like art tourism, visiting fairs or coaching every day, there are very little time and space left to make works. So that's another thing. We are thinking how to balance it.
Yeah. We've just had two couples here. So normally we have one person at a time at our residency, but it just happened that we had a husband and wife come a couple weeks ago, and they stayed and made work. And then now we have another couple here, and they are also making work. And both couples had been here before. So it's interesting, to see the dynamic, and one person is usually of the couple is usually more like making the work, and the other is a little bit more in support. And that's definitely what's happening currently right now. It's interesting, they're doing pit firing because we have, land, so they just spent a whole bunch of days digging this huge hole. And then, what were they going to fire? What fuel was it going to be? And what were they going to put in with the ceramics that they're making? And so it's been fun. It's a process. So they're having fun.
So they come not at the same time, right? So the two couples come.
The couples are here at
Yeah.
two people
One
at
couple
once.
at a time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's our space is so small. We really can only support either one person or two people that like each other a lot.
Yeah. We also have just one bedroom. So the kitchen bedroom is like a studio kind of type. I guess it's like a quite standard, like a hotel in a way, because the size is like 20 square meter, more or less like a hotel room, with a mini kitchen, with access to the terrace, and then access downstairs to the workspace, which is 100 square meter. That's the big space. But I guess few people want to live like in the workspace. Therefore, we also can only take one or two persons at a time in the bedroom space, unless those two people, let's say they want to sleep separately, it's possible on two different floors, like brothers, sisters, or they're just workmates. But last time we had a Pixie, so it's a couple as well. Like you said, one is the artist, the face of the project, another one is in support, like the art writer, the the how can I say it, the Batman and Robin,
The assistant.
the assistant. Yeah, cool.
Yes.
So are you thinking to, like, I wouldn't say the word promote, but are you happy how is it moving with the residency? Do you want to find opportunity to spread the word a little more?
We don't because we are not doing things totally legally, like legally we should, it's not an Airbnb, but if the city found out about it, they would think of us as an Airbnb
Yeah.
and they'd want to come in and inspect and,
Yeah.
all that sort of thing. And we don't want that because we
Yeah,
would
totally.
fail.
Totally. Yeah, so much bureaucracy just to, and it's not even like a scalable business in a way that you would have like 20 rooms at a time with 40 people. So it doesn't make sense to commercialize it, I guess, like many
And
residencies.
yeah, we don't want to. We like having one or two people. That's as much. If it was a hotel, it would be, a full-time job for me
Yeah.
to manage and clean and, take care of everything that people need. So I don't want to do that. So it's
Yeah.
fine the way it is.
And how about other projects?
My miniature golf course is stalled right now. It's really interesting, but again, it's bureaucracy. Like, as much as I hate what's happening in the government right now, I understand the fury at bureaucracy, but I also understand why it exists. Like all the checks and balances, the oversight that you have to have with a project, because if you're building something, people can get hurt. People can, there's disputes that happen. There's all this sort of thing. So what's happened right now is a couple months ago, I submitted my grading plan to the city engineer, and then it just disappeared into a vacuum. And so I called, like, hey, what's going on? Oh, I'll get back to you. Nothing. And there's actually a law that says if a city has this, if you've submitted something formally with a bunch of paperwork, you're supposed to have a response.
In 60 days.
Yeah, and they didn't. And so then I had my insider. So I have an insider, like I have a guy who used to be on the city council who helps me, under the table. I don't tell anyone he's helping me. So he makes some calls and finds out, yes, indeed, the city engineer has taken my application and set it aside because it has issues. And if he delves into the issues, it's going to cause me a lot of pain. So in a certain way, he's helping me, the engineer is helping me. But if I didn't have an insider to find this out, how would I even know? How would I know? So now my insider is speaking with the mayor, and the mayor is going to speak with the other members of the city council to see if we can sort of push this forward in a different direction to avoid all these big issues. So it's just totally an inside job. It's just crazy. It's just like, how would you get something done unless you had people on the inside? And that's the way it works. That's the way government works. So anyway, that's where that
Well,
is.
but your
That's
current project is okay, still works. They didn't stop you from doing what you're doing. It's just
They haven't, but it's just stalled. And then you see, like, when you look around a place and you say, why, this was going to be a coffee house, this was going to be a car wash, this was going to be there's a guy who's trying to make an escape room, which is also very artistic. He's an artist and designer, and he's got all these people working inside. It could be really cool. He's stopped. It's just stall, stall, stall. And you're not talking about stopping for weeks and months. You're talking about years. And it's just like I've been watching this guy try to get his escape room now for 3 years. And I ask him, and he's like, oh, the fire department and he said we should have never called it an escape room, because then it sounds like people can't get out, but that's not the truth. It's like they should have called it a museum, and then it could have moved forward, but now it's stuck in limbo for some reason. So anyway, boring bureaucracy.
it's my full-time
Sorry,
job.
I want to apologize for our country being such a big asshole right at the moment. And we did go to a congressman breakfast the other day, and people were furious, furious. You could not hear him talk. People were screaming. It was like 200, 300 people in the room yelling and screaming at this Republican congressman because of what they're doing, firing people. And yeah. So anyway, that's my update.
I see.
But you had that much problems because you are a civil applicant, or like if there's any other procedure you can follow, like with a technician that maybe gives you, I don't know, like some certification of sanitation or security, or what's it called, fire safety, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through a way that would cause me less problems. But if that way gets shut, then I will have to go back and go through the way that causing me a lot of problems, which is just a big pile of money that in the end I won't be able to spend on my project. I'll have to spend it on engineering. I'll have to spend it on paperwork and that sort of thing. So that's less money for my project, for the artists, to pay the teachers, everything, and more to pay some engineer $50,000 to help me get this through, so it's a lot. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. What literally the office I work, we are doing, like getting permissions for people. And yeah, it's like most of the thing is like how you name it. If you call deposit, maybe you will get permission, but if you call magazine, it's a problem because they think you store paper and it's more vulnerable to the fire. I get you.
And there's so many, like, it's interesting. It's part of it is weather related. So we have flash flooding here. So if during the grading there is a freak flash flood and somebody gets the road gets washed away because of my project, because I didn't manage it correctly, and somebody gets killed. That's like such a small possibility, but it is a possibility. So I have to, like, that's why they have so many rules, all these procedures that have to happen, when you're grading and preparing the land, so that if there's a flash flood, nobody gets killed or somebody's house gets flooded out.
But it's also strange that they gave so much responsibility to the people who are trying to make things. Like, what if there is a disaster, what they are doing?
The
what
city,
the
the cities have
fireman's
very, yeah.
role in this situation? Like, why you are responsible for the safety
The-
of people?
The developer has to pay for everything in most cities because the bulk of city funding goes to fire and police. That's the bulk of it. You look
Okay.
at where does the city budget go? It goes to protecting the people. And because we have fires here, huge fire departments and things like that. It's not even the city employees. The city employees are small. It's like that's bureaucracy that that's what Trump is trying to get rid of. But like the protection for the people, that's what they want. And so those people make a lot of money. They have a huge pension. So our taxes go to support that. It's such an education.
Yeah, it's like how little government takes responsibility on safety of people is a bit like different from here, obviously.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hello,
I have a
Anna.
question for you, Anna.
Yeah. So you're on your way, no? To
Yes,
Spain.
yes, I stopped in New York to see my daughter, and then
Uh-huh.
tomorrow I head to Madrid to the
Oh,
residency.
cool. Just now, like literally 3 minutes ago, Greg just stormed out of the door to catch the train to Madrid. So he will
Oh,
be there just a day before you and prepare. So when you're there, everything's set, and I would also send you more deep details like Wi-Fi password and stuff. So yeah,
great. Thank you. I'm sorry to pop in and interrupt you all mid-conversation. I would like to
No,
listen.
yeah,
you did well.
cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I've missed out on the first 20 minutes of whatever good discussion you're having, but I'll catch up for sure.
Yeah, we're just talking about the updates of, the project, which direction different projects are heading. And like a few years ago, I did a video interview with Anna to talk about the golf project. And it was visually, I could imagine it being a very good kind of artistic film because there's the desert, there's the art, and there are people, travelers, children, family. I can imagine it as a very not exactly viral in a TikTok sense, but I could imagine it reach people and go beyond just the original kind of reach. So that's also I want to know like how is it going, where it's heading to, because I want to kind of feature it to make another update. When maybe you'll hear news or there are some specific events that is happening, and also it's kind of matching with what I was thinking about the book project of show your art slash or show your art bracket work, because we don't have show your art domain and the handle, we have the show your art work, so that's the second best we can get. That project we're thinking to have open calls to get people to talk about their projects that are very special and unique, and in ways to show a artistic project, like in the desert, like in the outdoors, or any
Yeah.
eccentric practices.
And I was just doing a presentation on Suzanne Lacey, who is she's also a social practice artist here, and mostly here in California, but she does projects internationally. And she does like these big performances that can take years to organize. And then over a weekend, this performance happens, and then she takes video. But she talked about a lot about how it's very important to allow the project to live through a museum or a gallery exhibition. So it's about how do you take this big project which happened out in the world somewhere and film it, photograph it, have documents, have ephemera, have things that can go into. I mean, she's a museum level artist into museums so that people and the art world also realizes that it's art, because otherwise it might feel like theater, or it might feel like sociology or something that is not quite art, but she is very clearly an artist. Sorry about that.
Oh, like the Suzanne with a Zann, like Suzanne, like that?
Suzanne Lacey, Lacy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I found
Yeah.
her also online.
Yeah.
She's doing performance, installation, this kind of practice.
Yeah, yeah. She teaches at USC, in Los Angeles, University of Southern California.
Mm.
Anyway, so
All
yeah,
right.
it just takes a lot of patience when you're doing such a long project like this. So I have a lot of like I was talking to somebody else about a long project, and you have to trick yourself. You have to have these little side projects and little smaller deadlines and smaller interesting things to keep you going. Otherwise, you're going to get really discouraged. And I think that's maybe true with all artists. You have this big goal in mind, like maybe you want to have a museum show, or you want to eventually get a position where you are some kind of you running an arts center or something, but you have to have little interim goals to feel like you're getting somewhere, because otherwise it's just really discouraging.
I'm going to look it up, but the Pace Gallery right now in New York has an exhibit that features a woman who just put together lots of pieces that Anna that you just described. It's performance. There's elements of a play that she's modernized. There's film. There's photography, and just the way you described that reminded me of what I just read. So I'm going to look it up and then put it in the notes if I can pull that off. So
Yeah.
I'll try it. That way I've got a little more info in case it relates to like the concept of how to present something that becomes art, even if it's like a social experiment or uses data that may not really look traditionally like art. And allowing it to reach that audience that are the art critics or people who will come in and write about it in a way that they may not do if it's something that's kind of just out there in somebody's yard or wherever you might do all your performing.
Yeah, and I think like the one of the prototypes of this kind of work was Christo. So he was doing those huge projects which took years to create, but he would do drawings and diagrams and all this sort of things that he could bring into the gallery setting or bring into the museum setting, and also that he could use to fund his projects. So he was selling those things to be able to raise the money to do the projects. So I think he was one of the people who really laid the foundation of understanding, well, because these things cost money, and how are you going to raise the funds to create your big project, that's possibly going to be there and gone, or, my project, I don't know if it's going to last. It could be a temporary thing. It could last for a couple of years. And then, I also think about finding somebody to take on the project when I don't do it anymore, because, nobody lives forever and nobody has that kind of energy to be able to keep on doing that kind of project. So anybody who's building something has to have a successor in mind. And I don't have that person yet, but that's a high priority for me. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm having friends, not I've had, but they're also past tense, past perfect tense, and continuous different projects. There is one that is, I see the main problem is that this person's child was so young that he's like 70 years old, 72, and the child is only 16. So he had the child very late in life. And he's having this project, amazing project. It was the biggest new media art festival in Europe, or even he was living in the States before New York, California, San Francisco. I mean, he was living everywhere and in Barcelona as well. The project was really like as big as Arts Electronica, I would say, but more like a Burning Man's style. Like I wasn't there, but he was doing it so successfully when he was younger. And as he retires, he's trying to find a successor for his project. But his son, I mean, although his son was very interested, is actually our common friends with Jeff, Moncho Agora. like he art futura, like he is
You made a video.
yes,
One of the artists from that in Rome,
yes.
no? Art Futura.
Can,
Turkish guy.
the Turkish artist,
guy.
John, whose
John.
name spelled like C-A-N Can.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I see that he's struggling to get someone. He couldn't wait for his son to grow up. I mean, 16-year-old. I mean, how many years are you gonna wait, right? And he's yeah, his energy level is lower every year, and he just did something as well. I went to cover the event and published something in the Chinese channel. It was cool. But it took him many, many years after 70 to put up a big event, a public event together, because it's just the level of energy and also the world spins faster when he's slower. So it's this. I think if he would be a few years younger, he would be able to make the project past the next stage. But yeah. It's
Yeah.
difficult to make it a family business or long-lasting, multi-generational business.
You were the first part, you were saying that he was querying you about this dilemma about how to pass on art,
I see he's actively looking for someone to bring into the project and
what's it called? Ascension. What's that?
Succession.
succession.
He has secession on his mind.
I mean,
Yes.
it's almost natural when you feel that to be able to carry this amount of weight, you need another person to share the load. It's almost biological, I think. You see that it needs to have, hands,
Right.
labor.
Right.
So it's
Right.
also nature to look, but it's good to look early, I would say. And the trickiest part is you usually need to look when you are the strongest at the peak. But then at that time, you don't really think you need anyone.
Right.
So that's really smart to look early,
And I've also
Yeah.
I've seen other nonprofits, really amazing projects and often run by women, and there's ego involved. They think I'm the only one who can do this, no one else can. And or they're saying, well, you have to run it exactly the way I ran it. And that's not possible. A project to live is going to change with leadership. And so you have to give up. You've built this thing. It's like a business, you've built this thing that you want to live, but you can't control it. Someone else is going to take it over and run it their way. So it can, I think I've seen I've seen people sabotage their own projects, by not choosing somebody who's strong, who, like almost choosing the successor who's going to fail. That's actually a thing. Like, don't choose a strong person so that you can prove that you ran it and you were the only
Better
one
than
who
anyone else, no?
Yeah, no, I don't want that. So,
But
yeah.
it's smart, it's wise to start looking, early. So I think it's still early, you have plenty of time. Probably when at 72 or something like that, it can be a bit like tight. It's still possible, depending on the right choice, circumstances, and also a project that is logistically and financially feasible would attract, I guess, better quality talent.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And have you done anything to attract those talents?
I have a whole list of people who I have an advisors and friends board, that I keep it like every 6 months I send out a letter sort of updating everything that we've done. But because it doesn't exist right now, my project in the 5 years that it's been going, the first year I planned, the second 2 years in 21 to 23, it existed in a very prototype fashion. And then now for the past 2 years, it's only been in planning again. So, there's no there yet, so I have to wait. I have to wait until something physically budges so that I can move, that I can open the construction. So Anyway, that's my update.
Yeah.
How's everybody else? How are your projects going, Esra?
Actually, I have a last question for you
Ah.
about the last Instagram post you shared. There's a textile piece, and it was written like Feminist Art Festival, something like that. And
Yes.
I'm curious if it is your work, and if it is, can you give a bit of context, because it looks amazing, and I didn't know you work with textile.
Yeah, for my personal practice, for what I've been doing for the past couple years is I've been collecting cross stitch needlepoint and from thrift stores mainly. And then it's fun for me because I'm interested in the backs. So most needlepoint are kits, and I'm interested in the backs of the needlepoint, and then I turn them over and I embroider words in them, thinking about how the person who was making the needlepoint might have really felt like when they were creating it. So it's a feminist project. So that's one of my side projects, and I'm looking for a place to show it. So it's interesting because it's political and it's feminist. And so there are a lot of galleries which would not touch it because of the climate. And here, where I live, is a conservative place. I really can't show it here. So I'm looking in San Diego and LA, which are, more liberal places. And also there are galleries which would accept political art. So yeah, I'm working on that. And that show that you saw is tonight. I have to go as soon as I am here done. I have to drive down to San Diego to go to the opening of that.
By the way,
show.
you look great. It's irrelevant, but
Dressing up.
Cool. I'm in my producing phase as well. I start lots of textile pieces, but it's like I feel like I need to update my portfolio because, as I mentioned, last 2 years I wasn't very satisfied that digital works. Although I know the way, like why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's still, I wasn't feeling like I truly materialized my vision. Now I feel like I'm getting there, but it is such a labor intense process. It is not, there's no shortcut in embroidery and textile. So
Yeah.
it gives me a bit of anxiety because people are fast, things are fast. Now, like at least most of my friends produce faster pieces. So I think I need to be very patient this year to update my portfolio, and but it's like that creative urge start feeling now a bit of like resentment to the people who are doing things, like people who don't have day jobs, like that I have to work in my lunch breaks and on the way to train. I feel like I need to catch up, and I don't have very clear roadmap yet. I have few institutions in mind. If I quit my job, I think I will follow a few good residency program, then hope best or plan my best. But it's a bit like mentally difficult situation. Before I had this production blockage. Now I have like so much energy that time cannot follow my mental energy. But
you
it is
can't
going.
you can't compare yourself to other people. I mean, other people's practice might be, yes, very, very quick, but also you don't know that, maybe it took 10 years for them to get to develop that very quick project, But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. And then when you say develop your portfolio, are you talking about a website, your online website, or how is your portfolio?
Yeah, online website and a PDF file that I could confidently use for open calls. Because when you feel insecure, like I apply some open calls, but just for the sake of applying, and then it's like discouraging. So that's, I don't know, there's this weird urge I feel to catch up. Like before I get 35, I wanna do this, that kind of things. And yeah, last few years I was like really not doing that much, and suddenly I realized that yeah, and I really need to put together a body of work with textiles and to show that I must not master, but I know that medium, I know how to express myself. But I'm still like much happier that I find the perfect medium to express myself.
And I think that as you are working on the pieces and you're putting them out in the world a little bit, you'll gather around you the right people. You know, you'll realize, okay, this is the kind of institution, not just applying to an open call where you have no chance, but, you know, getting to know, okay, this institution shows this kind of work that I'm doing, and you need to develop a relationship, because it's all about relationships. It's really not the quality of the work necessarily. It's about the people who know you, who know that you're, you know, such a thoughtful thinker. You are going to write amazing theoretical text around your project. That it's your work and all the parts that make you you. So don't give up. Don't.
Yeah, thank you. But here in Italy, I mean, if you are not a studio artist like full time, it is hard to be taken seriously. So I think the smartest way for me to save some money and interrupt my career and do like have some residency and space and produce a lot, and meanwhile sharing with the world, then decide based on the outcomes. There are a few people who are asking catalog if I have available works, and I don't. That's also quite like I am really not prepared for anything big right now. I don't have. I didn't set the systems yet. So yeah.
But you will. You will.
Yes.
Don't worry.
You're young and you are starting. You have a good start, and it's all in the process.
Yes, I want to think like that.
Yeah.
I want to back up what Anna said. And while you're young, you've got people older than you, like trying to advise you, thinking about when I was not yet 35. My last 15 years or 20 years, I've really focused on materials and technique. And while that is important, of course, I wish that when I was your age, I had focused more on relationships. And I just want to like kind of second what Anna just said about the relationships. Like, even if you get your portfolio in tip-top shape and you're very satisfied and confident about you've mastered these materials and these techniques and you've created this beautiful body of work, without the relationships, it still is just like sitting in your living room under the couch or wherever. And so I would recommend trying to give yourself a little bit of a break about where you are with your work and just keep talking to people. Maybe like find artists who you admire who use similar materials and send them a message on Instagram or an email and just introduce yourself and say, we work with similar materials and I'm looking to expand my network. If you ever want to have a conversation, let me know. And,
I already have one.
You know,
one guy that Mo knows. I find him through Mo, and we start a collaboration. So, and he's like very, very insightful person. He's like mentoring me, and it's very amazing.
He writes to you in Italian.
I'm totally not shy about like being in touch with people, luckily.
Yeah. He wrote to you in Italian, no? In his native tongue.
Yeah, we speak in messages.
Italian.
We speak in Italian, but on conversation, I feel more comfortable in English.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Because he's Italian and he's a perfect person to be used as a reference when I need a theory. I just text him. It doesn't matter, 3 in the morning, he's up. And I say, I need a philosopher, preferably Caucasian, with this theory. Send me some. Then I receive all the references, and he's like, "Oh, this guy is good. That girl is good." And he's a dictionary.
He's a library. But
Yeah, yeah.
the almost like only thing he doesn't know that much is like Middle Eastern politics,
Yeah, because he spent,
Sufism,
yeah,
Islamic philosophy, and Anatolia. So
yeah.
I have something to give to him.
Yeah, because he spent most of his professional life in China, so he's more a cinephile than
Yeah, also he knows a
technologist.
lot about Western philosophy and Chinese philosophy, but there's Middle East in between.
Yeah, in the middle, right? Yeah, yeah. Just last week, I spoke with him on Zoom to me, Greg, and him, just to
Mhm.
tell him what we're doing, give him an update. He's on our Friends Advisory Board. And let's see, I will hear back from him probably next week if he wants to be a part of our book project, to be a editor as well. Or if not, I will just send him tasks to write about the 10,000 exhibitions that he probably had participated or visited. So he can be a contributor. Yeah.
Cool. By the way, I sent an email to Greg. I filled the Google form
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
he told
didn't
me, he
work.
told me. We are testing
So
it.
I
So
sent it again.
exactly, we are rolling out a open call form for people um, who either visited or hosted or participated as artists in exhibition that has some merits, have some lessons, some things to share. So that's whoever, it can be, your guys, it can be your friends or whoever that had this idea or have seen something great, just need 3 photos, right? To at least to have the image of what this person is talking about. So we can first do a filter, put it on social media to share, and then a further deeper investigation to put together like kind of an entry listing article, however you want to call it, and then slowly comes the book. So that's the idea.
Yeah, by the way, I last week we mentioned weird places to exhibit, or the week before, like an empty
Alternative,
house.
yeah.
I didn't have nice photos, so I shared the one in the attic of my previous house. It was like in very disastrous looking places, but I managed to
Alternative,
organize
yeah.
the exhibition there.
Yeah, it's fine. It's alternative, it's fine. Yeah, eccentric, offbeat, alternative, everything's fine. Yeah. I think well, among all of us, you're the youngest, and you've got plenty of time to think about what you want to do with your life, where you want to go, the art you want to make. I think you're the least should worry about the the future potentials.
Yeah.
The future is on your side. Time is on your side.
Yeah, maybe like it is called deep theory. Like when you start things, it brings a bit of its own hype. Then things stop. There's a plateau. Of course, life happens as well. So combined together, like almost nothing happens lately, and it is very like more than very future anxiety. Like last 3 years, I did nothing. How can I recover with that kind of thing? And yeah, I think also when you don't create that much, that energy just wants to go away at one point, like in a speed way. Like if you jump into water from height, you reach bottom, then you wanna go like physics rules. You need to speedily get rid of the energy, right?
Yeah, it's when you say that, oh, the last 3 years I didn't do much or I haven't done nothing. I have the same feeling in a different way. I've seen people who are in a little better position or a very good position to have time available to them to create art or to do the project they want to do. I feel I wouldn't say jealous, but I feel that it's a disadvantage for people who couldn't afford to let their time just go free. So it can be a family responsibility, but likely mostly financial constraints. And it's like, if I knew at 20 years old, I'd marry a rich guy. So the rest of my life is at least taken care. Sometimes I'm like, look at Greg yesterday, well, we're not bad. We had this discussion in a Michelin restaurant that we go every week. So, I mean, no complaints. But I'm like looking at him, it's like, you know what? The last 10 years, it's just about making money, work. I wish I would have that 10 years to do art or, something else. Yeah, and it's always we say if you hold the baby, you cannot hold the bricks. The bricks as a career, job, or means to make a living. The baby is like passion, love, family, or other personal projects.
It's like the new feminist spectrum, no? Like girl boss, you all have it all, and in the middle, then now there's this strange neo-femininity, Mormonism trend. So it also aligns with that.
I also think like I have gone through periods of my life where I've done a lot. And then like I've done lots of shows and art fairs and running all around Southern California and showing my work. And then you look back on it and you say, did it move my career forward? Or it might have moved my career forward a little bit because I was making the work, but did all of that crazy showing help? And my reaction is, okay, that was fun, but I'm not going to do that anymore because I don't have that energy anymore. But also, it's not going to help to keep on doing that level of show. I have to I have to retool and think, no, I want to have a higher quality sort of status in the art world. Um, I want to start lecturing more. I want to control my thing more. And so, for example, we used to do a lot of small art fairs, but physically it's hard because I don't have the money to hire people to help, transport the work and do all the things that you have to do physically and go to a place, stay in a hotel, stand up for 10 hours talking to people. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore, so there's this, but it was fun while it lasted. But I think that you can stop and you can say, okay, I'm not going to do some stuff anymore that is not helping me. It's a little brutal in a certain way because you enjoy it and yeah, I got a lot of satisfaction out of, okay, every month I'm in at least one show. I'm running around, I'm moving my work, but now I don't want to do that anymore. So.
I wish I have that kind of burnout because of art. Like I feel burnout because of my job, and I think now I have this a bit like low-key jealousy moment because previously I make myself believe that artists who have other jobs, other careers have that unique vision or unique capacity of getting things done. It gives you like you become more down to earth person, and I think there's a little valid point on that. Like artists from art school graduates that maybe not coming from great background, comparing an artist who has a bit of work experience maybe is behind, but now I reach a point it's just like that experience really blocks my time that I cannot expertise in my craft. So I realized that, and my reflection is a bit toxic right now. I feel truly resentment people who are doing things, working in the institutions I want to work. Feels a bit also overwhelming. And I have another question, since I find experienced artists. In the contemporary art scene, especially in the last 5 years, there is much more common people work in projects, except like oil painters. They do, like many visual artists work with, even like people who work with 2D mediums, they do projects of the work. What is the problem working with just piece by piece and series and not contextualizing so much of the work?
I think that it's your personality. So I also do projects. Like I think you're thinking of series. Like I make this series of work with the needlepoint, and it's going to be a series that runs me probably 5 years. And then I'll probably stop and do something different. Like maybe I'll do clay, or maybe I'll do miniature golf, But my partner, he does piece by piece. His whole output of his physical fine art has been painting. And he doesn't understand he thinks that I get bored. You're like, oh, Anna, you should have continued on that series. I'm like, no, that series was a time in my life and a way that I was working, and now I'm finished with it. And I would never go back to that. I would not paint more, or I would not change the paintings or something like that. And so, but we just work totally differently. So I think you should just think about, what is my personality? I don't think there's a problem either way.
It's
I
not a
try.
problem
Hmm.
per se, but I think in the current contemporary institutional art scene, artists who work mentally, who personality wise works with project by project, works much better, and it appears more intellectual naturally, because if there's a project, you think about a project. About a piece, you are literally more focusing on composition and only the piece. There's not so much to talk about. Yeah, I think at least here the art scene favors artists who works with projects. But I think there's no point that me pushing myself to become that kind of person, because as you said, like my brain doesn't work like that. I think I pushed unnecessarily so long to fit in that personality, because I saw they are more successful, so why not? But it's just I feel much more relief when I focus on one piece.
Yeah.
But you kind of
If
look
it
at it
naturally works,
like,
it's okay, I mean, money-wise, if you can sustain with a typical artist that goes through the gallery system, why not? It's not a problem. But the money is in the projects. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. I'm right now, I just literally 5 minutes ago sent in an interview, a paper to a journal, interview to Gao Brothers. Gao Brothers is the one of the most famous artist duo or artists group in China alive. If you say as a group alive, active, they're probably, if it's not number one, it's number two. If you say individual alive, likely is Ai Weiwei, but group, the two brothers, I mean, it's a very small group, but it's a group. They did a lot of provocative art pieces, and one of the brother got arrested half a year ago and still detained now, still today, in China, when he's visiting his family in China. Now they both with a green card in the States, live in New York, but one of the brother couldn't hold himself back to visit some families back at home and got arrested. The whole family got stuck in China. I mean, he's the rest of the family are United States citizens already, like Chinese-born U.S. citizens, and they're still stuck in China. So I did a written interview to the brother who didn't get arrested, the younger brother, and I just studied their case a bit and wrote something fast and sent it to pitch paper. Let's see if they like it or not. It's a very specific case. So when you say projects, they worked with Venice Biennale, high-level projects, they sold pieces, but I think project and pieces are just it's like almost like if you have a product, you sell it as wholesale or as retail, as bespoke, like a beautiful shoe or fashion, you sell it with haute couture, bespoke, or you sell it as prêt-à-porter, and I don't know like the fashion terms, but it's just a format of sales channel. But when it comes to what defines your brand, would be more like your point of view. And that point of view needs to be very articulate with a very special, like you explain to a 6-year-old, this is my idea. Well, they don't get the intricacy, but they get more or less the idea. Like for example, Gao Brothers portrayed Mao, the founder of China, like the Chairman Mao, as a prostitute with a dragon come out of the legs of the genital. So that is very strong, very clear. A 6-year-old would understand what they're trying to say. Very bold symbols. Doesn't have to be that bold, but the idea needs to be very easy to explain as well. So you
But
appeal to more people.
it needs to be also more dramatic, like in order to be more simple. No, the very subtle things, very small emotions, very small disturbs. I mean, people want to do art about that subject, but that subtleness, that minimal approach you are saying is not so clear.
Saying that the output, however that you present your work through institutions, through gallery, I see that the most successful artists that I know personally, I didn't grow up with them, but I met them when I was 20 years old, and I would sneak into their guarded studios to have a coffee, which like the authorities put uniformed guards in front for like 10, 12 hours a day to prevent people from gathering inside. So I see those people, how they grow, or they were already quite famous by then, but how they establish themselves in the art world. And I see a lot of them have a very clear messages. And the messages you say is valid or not, but it's very clear their standing point. It's almost like we say in China today, if you want to get to know someone's standing point, you say, are you pro-Trump or anti-Trump? Are you pro-Russia or pro-Ukraine? Are you pro the Israel? Yeah, or Hamas. I mean, they're just a very black and white things sometimes that you have to pick a side. Whatever your statement is, the more clear, loud, well-defined. It can be provocative. Doesn't have to be provocative. I think those are easier to get recognized.
In my head, or for me, the message is so clear. What I'm trying to give is like, say hi to strangers, like let's do alternative alphabets about this communication. But then the way I explain, or I don't know, if it is easy to put in a political context, to say hi strangers, or like this otherness created constantly, constant fear of others. Even here, like when people see Arabic letters, they the associations comes with that is like very problematic, and I have issues with that. So every like I have clear reason why I do what I'm doing, but it is hard to express, like articulate in a very sharp and edgy way.
I think you can ask theorists like Alessandro Rolandi, and he can tell you probably, imagine if someone have to write a, doesn't have to be a PhD thesis, someone have to write a master's thesis on that piece of art of yours. Would he be able to graduate? Let us just say. Like if he would be able to write it and graduate, then likely that piece is staying in the museum. Therefore, you have that path, the institutional path. Or you go with the galleries. That's a different path.
But when we look at some other successful artists, they do like extremely subtle or anti-narrative things, and they are still successful. Maybe they have like very clear visual identity, like very.
It's subtle. It can be in the message. It can be in the mise en scène. If you have a subtle idea and a subtle visual, then that's the problem. Like you can only use the subtle card once. If you're subtle in your message, you have to be bold in your visuals, I think.
Wow, that's very
No?
mind-opening.
Like,
That was good, Mo. That reminds me of what we would tell my daughters, don't wear a tiny tube top and a teeny tiny skirt. Wear a tiny skirt with a bigger shirt, or a tiny tube top with like long flowy pants. So if you have a super subtle style, have a real strong idea, but never both are the same. I like that, Mo.
yeah, I like your
Yeah, I like your
metaphor
analogy
as
as well, Laura.
Yeah.
It's so mind-opening.
The parenting side of my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, most of my friends, the political artists from China, they are bold in every aspect. Imagine a glowing, gigantic 2 meter tall sculpture of Mao with a curvy body and legs open in red color. And that piece, I've seen it when it was made. Whenever there's nobody, they cover it with a white cloth. So you'd see it like almost like a lady giving birth shape covered under a white cloth, because they couldn't just have people pass by and see it. It's too sensitive. And then it went lost one day. And then I think the authorities took it. And then when they returned it, it was damaged. I don't know which part, but probably the dragon. And it was very bold, and the message as well. So I guess they can be used by other countries or entities with narrative or agendas. They can be used, but usually to be used, there is also a benefit from it, right? Like they got presented to Venice Biennale. Of course, I guess the major the collectors would be American institutions and organizations who want to purchase something that radical, probably not Chinese. And they got the benefit of the fame, the financial income, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, think about where you want to be bold.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking of that. Probably I'll keep thinking next few weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know what is considered visually subtle or bold, like if it's sticking extreme minimal style but in a very religious way, it is considered subtle or bold.
There is the one side, the love at the first sight kind of, there is the subtle at the first sight. I've seen one work in I think Arco, another art fair. It was a white textile, white, and I thought it's just white on white. But when I went closer, there were little micro sutures in white. meticulously done.
Mhm.
And it's subtle because if you don't notice, you would just thought you passed by some sort of a white wall, and you just wouldn't pass. It's like, there's nothing in there, and you just go. So it's subtle at the first sight, but it can also have a bit of a dimension inside.
Mhm.
So it can be, the subtleness doesn't have to be like from A to Z all subtle in that aspect, in the spectrum. It can have some sparks. I think there are
Mhm.
different ways. But
I
as
I would like to keep this discussion going on.
Yeah, I think the
Following
most difficult is the
following month,
consistency
please.
and the storytelling. Like if you're known for the artist being subtle with color, likely
Mhm.
not the second day or another exhibition that you create is not bold in color, right? So there is
Mhm.
also a bit of consistency of this is your personal trademark of this aspect being subtle. Right?
Mhm.
Maybe back then people think red coal was subtle.
I also think that as you're making the work and you're saying you're making it on the train, you're making it on your lunch hour and seems like, people are watching you do it, I had a friend who she was doing charcoal drawings in the train. She was living in London. And that became the story. The work was really beautiful and intense, but also the fact that she was making it in public. So I think that can also help, in your promotion of,
Perform-
you're doing women's work, you're doing it publicly, you're doing it in the minutes between when you're having to do this very arduous job, which I also think, like, if your job is bugging you, your goal should be in a couple of years, you need to go. You have to like have this goal to say, this is not working for me in my life anymore. I have to find a different job that takes less time so that I can spend more time making my work. But anyway, I'm so sorry. I have to go, but lovely to chat with you all. And thank you so much, Mo, for continuing to get us together. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Hope you have a
you. And
wonderful time,
I
Laura.
hope to hear from
Thank
you the
you.
next time that the project is moving.
We'll see. We'll see.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Anna,
Bye.
Anna,
Thank you, Anna.
I sent Anna a gallery in Austin, Texas that features work that I don't know if she saw it in the chat.
Great. Yeah, I can. Oh yeah,
Uh,
yes, the one you sent in is the Pace Gallery.
Oh, I sent it directly to Anna in a private message.
Okay. Well, you have
let
her
me see.
email just in case if she didn't see it, then
Okay,
because I
could
saw
send it to her.
I shared the mother and I knew it would be the one that you talk about because your discussions and discourse is about motherhood
yeah.
and being a woman.
Yeah.
So I found it as well. So you see that repeated because we sent it at the same time because I knew it's
Oh, really?
that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew I
Thank
could
you.
imagine when I see the title. I knew it's something you would be interested.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll email it to her later. And I have to go too.
Yeah.
bon voyage, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Safe
much.
trip to Madrid.
Thank you. And when we have our next meeting, I'll get to join the meeting from the residency, right?
Yeah, then likely you'll be sometime if Greg is there too, you probably will be on the same screen. But yeah, you can join from the residency. The internet speed is pretty good. So
Okay, that'll be fun. Okay,
yeah,
thank you
cool.
very much.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Ezra, just to say, Laura has also this discourse, this theme about working as a woman, as a mother, relationship with the husband. It's quite a similar subject to what you would discuss as well. I mean, feminists and woman's body and role in society is a evergreen subject.
Yeah. Although I never considered yet like embroidery or threads like extreme. Okay, it is considered less intellectual because it is tightly connected with feminine act traditionally. But my message doesn't comes from there. I don't know, like being a woman doesn't have that much impact on my art. I feel like even if I was a man, I could have the same message about like say hi to strangers, just don't be afraid and let's invent new languages, because that's the primary issue I'm going through in my life, this identity and language barriers and all the problems tied about the location and mother tongues you
I
have.
think you could take advantage of the fact that you are a migrant woman like myself as well. Take advantage of that, because Greg always said if you can't take advantage of the disadvantages, you just have the disadvantages for nothing, right? It will not work. The only way to succeed is to use every piece well, even the disadvantages. And I never thought it would be something valid. I was just dismissing the message. I was thinking, easily said than done. Yeah, you are not a woman yourself. You're a Caucasian male, like what do you know? So that was kind of my disbelief until one day I was hanging my lingerie on the line, just hanging on the line. And one of the ranks have little metal bars, right? That's where you hang the lingerie. And one of the bar went broken on one side. So whenever I try to use it, it will just break down and then have all my clothes on the floor. So I just was playing with it. I was like, okay, what do I do with it? That's a disadvantage, right? Obviously, what am I gonna use the piece broken? So I realized that if I lift it up and lay it gently on the vertical horizontal bar, it would stay, but with the slightest weight, it would still break and go down. So I thought, okay, so I lifted it and I started putting all my underwears and bras and everything that goes in the loop. And then I let go, it stayed, and it stayed pretty well because the weight is very light. So then I realized, what he said is actually true. Every piece of disadvantage, you can use it. And I think you have things to use, your personal experience, your life, even the struggle at work, you can totally use it. Because if you don't, then all the suffering is for nothing, right?
Yes, true. Yes, but I don't know if it's like it is easy to translate into a piece, because all that struggles like you go through, but then you produce things that ends up a bit subtle. If you are not doing, I don't know, like figurative painting or bold sculptures, if like it then it is called abstract now. My works are all abstract works at the end. So it's hard to try to translate everything. Now that's why I just focus on one body of work, like all these symbols and invented alphabets that nobody can speak.
I think as a story to tell, even like as a story, it doesn't have to be a literal translation of what you've been through, but even just as an excuse and story to tell, let's just say you can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to go. Yeah. You muted yourself, but you have to go. Yes, I can read your lips. Yes. All right. Yeah. I'll talk to you later. Yeah. Just to say, I guess you probably need to catch the train as well, just because
No, I'm at home.
Huh?
That's
You're
I'm
at
at
home.
home. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So there's no pressure with the train. I just wanted to say you can use the story of the fact that you work 9 to 5 job in your work without a literal translation. You can enrich the discourse just by having an element of it integrated. Let's say you can record your keyboard strokes and you can say 9 to 5 in this 8 hours, the keyboard was typed 10,000 times, and in which the letter E, Y, I, O, L was typed the most. And then you try to make some work with those letters, or you can just use it as a kind of a enrichment, like a nutrition to fertilize your discourse.
Yeah, it's
There was this Japanese artist who created works with Excel sheets, with Excel, the spreadsheet app. And he had worked in a factory and in a company for all his life. At 70, when he retired, he used Excel. And
yeah,
people, of course, make the story saying, oh, he used Excel because he used it. And then I read interviews. Actually, when he was working in the office, he didn't use Excel. He knew it existed. He opened it. It was not his tool. He learned it after.
wow.
But people assume that, he was using it. That is in his favor, because people would assume that like this was his life. And everybody used to work in the company at some point, I guess. The fact that he can mention it and legitimize his tool, his technique, it goes into the same story.
Yeah, it's a natural way, actually. Like I work how I work for architecture, the way I produce art, because I'm not educated. So all the technique comes from architecture. I digitally draw in the outlining CAD systems, then I print, then I transfer to textile, then I literally draw or fill some forms. So, and because that's the only thing I am capable of comfortably. If I try to oil paint, probably I would just hate what I'm doing. But
You see,
the
you already
message
use a
wouldn't be
part of
different.
your life as outside of art life, like the CAD,
Yeah,
like
textile
AutoCAD, like use AutoCAD to draft. That's
yeah,
already
exactly.
something that is kind of related to your creative
Yeah,
process.
and textile comes from my mom because she's not a textile artist, but she's super talented, and she gave me a bunch of textile, and it's just like makes so much sense. Sewing you can do, even I like 5 years ago I was doing like paper sewing, because you can do anywhere and everywhere. It's not like painting.
Yeah. I think you need to refine put everything together, add and subtract elements to find a template for you. So when you present this idea, the work, and your own personal story, like Greg invented his the 3S, the story, the style. Yeah, so there is the story and the what did he say?
Story style.
So the story of yourself as a person, then the style, the actual I forgot what other S that he always tell his audience.
Okay, I will remind that because I'm curious what is the third S, and I have lots of framework today to think of, but I think this is my last question. I'm curious what you're thinking about. I feel like I'm in the phases of my production that quantity brings quality. Like if I don't have enough support and body of work to make sense yet, no matter how good what you are doing, if it's just one or like 2, 3, 4, it doesn't make sense in the artistic style, right? Like now I'm trying to less focus on quality, but producing a lot and as much as I can in different scales to see, to reach some quality. Like if you see same quality of works combined, like 40 of them, has totally different impact to seeing just one. Detached from the quality of the style or technique itself. That's my
the
belief
scale.
system right now.
Yeah, just now I sent Greg a message. I was like, what else is the third S? He said statement.
Wow.
Yeah, story, style, and statement. So the statement is what you tell other people when you write about your work. Like the thesis I was telling you about. If someone to write a thesis around your work, so that is the statement. The statement usually is the artist team produce, but it can be another external art writer who produced the statement over your work. And the story is something personal, more like your own personal story. So the statement is the story of your art, basically. So the art works story and your own personal story.
Okay.
So
Did you receive my last newsletter? Did you have a chance to check? Because it was like it was my trial to have my personal story, because there were like some new people arrived, so I wanted to reintroduce myself. But maybe in the following months I can propose in our gathering group to try to craft our stories. I think it would be beneficial for all of us, and
yeah,
we
I
will
saw
know
the work.
more.
This one. I saw the. Yeah, it is the one that you sent, no? The one with
Yes,
the blue work,
yes,
like a maze. It looks like a maze.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw it briefly when
Uh,
I first received it.
Yeah, it was a story trial. Like I was like pressuring myself. How am I gonna explain myself and my vision briefly to new people that they don't know that much about me, or they don't know why I'm doing art?
Yeah, it's a good practice to
Yeah.
do it. And especially it's an email, so it's very personal. You send it to people you know or who wants to know you. Yeah, it can be a start practice because you will need to do it many times to bigger and bigger growing group so that you can one day present it, comfortably to a big audience. Definitely.
Yeah.
And regarding to scale, I think the best artist I've met personally about scale to make it 40 works, not one, is Ai Weiwei. How many millions of kilos of sunflower
Yes.
seeds he did?
Yeah, that's so true.
He did the things in the greater scale than I've never ever imagined.
In a like one single art project piece, but using the same logic system. Like
Or
quantity brings quality.
or more or can be for example, can be not necessarily the same work. It can be a series of work with, for example, last month I went to London to visit his exhibition called A New Chapter, with a misspelling in the chapter, like chat-putter, in Leeson Gallery. So there is one work, I will send you a picture later, of a massive size of a size of my room, like the smallest room I have, bigger than my bathroom for sure, maybe smaller than my bedroom. So there's like a room-sized flag made of double-sided textile, and on each side there are buttons. And he bought 10,000, no, more than 10,000, 100,000 pound, like British money, worth of buttons. And that is is it 9 ton? Or more than that, tons of, not kilos, tons of buttons. Yeah.
But how structurally it
So
works?
so he had a collection of those buttons. He would sort them, and there are like 7,000 different types of buttons, big and small, in color and size. And he would make images of like a flag or a line of, for example, there's one button flag says
So
fuck
there's not
you.
one single piece. If there are different
There are
pieces.
different pieces made from buttons. Imagine, instead of Lego, you make art with Lego, you make it with button.
Okay.
So the size of a room, each one would have like at least 10,000 buttons. I mean, otherwise, how are you gonna feel like I don't know, 15 square meters of.
Okay. And it felt so different to see like that one single piece like that would
It's a
maybe
skill.
it's
So it's a skill
much
to
less-
impress.
Yeah, it would have much little
And
impact.
what would Greg call it? I think there are a lot of times that many people say, "Oh, what would Greg say? What would Greg think?" And then he's like, "I'm here, and you don't ask me." So he would say it's the proof of work. And for many young artists, you need to have the proof of work.
That I don't have.
The proof of work can be a proof of a work of you, yourself. Like, for example, you went to Himalaya, you see, and then you came home and painted because you've been there and you have spent the work to get there. So there is a legitimization of the amount of work put. And that work can be one time, a difficult journey, and then you just produce. Or it can be each time there is amount of work put in, like time, money, energy, labor. Because creativity is just the idea, and ideas are not even protected. It's more like what is more important is the execution, and the execution can be justified, like, oh, why my work is worth how much. And if you say I spent 100,000 British pounds in buying those buttons, and then I hired, I don't know, 50 people to work this night for 3 months and produced this work, and you see how many kilos does it contain, and each button is meticulously sewed onto the cloth, on both sides separately. So there's a huge amount of work that you don't even need to explain, people can see it.
Yeah, that's also very mind-opening. Yeah, I think like that digital works, although they don't maybe seem like they were like some meticulous drawings and makings. And now I think hopefully I can reproduce lots of similar things on the same style of textile. And I primarily work with blue and black. So I hope there will be some level of consistency there. And now I want to stop mental work and just like physically produce a lot.
If you have the time, you can. I think if you don't have the time, then you need to use the fact that you are a migrant. You come from a country which potentially, perhaps, the labors are cheap, right? The economy is less, or I don't know, like it could be the fact that, I mean, like say my country, even the economy is good, labor are still relatively cheap than the UK, than the US. So then, like Ai Weiwei, what he did is he went to China and hired a bunch of 65-year-old madams to do the work, right? So you could also get a bunch of, Turkish or whoever that you have connection to, and you can outsource the work for them to do it for you.
Yeah, totally. At one point, it is very out-resourceable. It doesn't require great talent. I will switch that path for sure.
Then you can fast accumulate the scale. You can scale up by hiring the people.
Yeah, it's very scalable if there is enough human labor, because after you do drawings, then it takes so much time. Even if I was living with my mom, probably I would produce 10 times more.
Yeah, for example, has your mom retired?
Exploring, yeah.
She's retired
exploiting.
now?
Yeah, she's very, very retired.
Yeah, so you can totally ask her to stand in and do the work. You don't even need to worry about confidentiality. She's not gonna tell anyone, right? So I mean, you can totally do that and have her produce the work for you on your behalf. And then whenever you go back home for a holiday, you pick up the work and you say you did it, right? Then you show it. I mean, hey, Ai Weiwei does it. So
yeah,
I mean, he does it, but he doesn't pretend that he did it. But at a certain point, you cannot pretend anymore if you produce 10,000, buttoned works a month. And of course, then you cannot say you did it. But up to that point, you can say you did it. And then you are already taking off your artistic career when you work a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. Hopefully, we come up with
time is a constraint, but it doesn't have to be your time. Right? So the problem solved.
Yeah, really. I think this conversation was like overall very helpful. Maybe I was like really needed this kind of discourse.
Mm.
Let's see.
Yeah.
What am I gonna talk about next month?
Next
Thank you.
month, you
That's
present
very-
your mom, the ghost writer behind. And especially you said your ideas came from her with the textile work because she's
Yeah.
very good. So let her be her and do the good work, and you just cheer and give her ideas, and then you present. Voila.
Yeah.
I think it totally
Good.
can work. Try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will do.
And also, I know you want to at some point quit your job, which is definitely like to have free time. If not, you're basically just not wasting, but you're spending your life doing someone else's work. And when you want to do your own, it's not good physically or mentally to continue if you don't feel like. But there's one thing is that regarding job security, if you quit a job and you want to get back into the, let's say if you want to change industry after 35, I would say it's impossible.
Okay.
Let's say
Change.
you're now an architect assistant, and when you are later, like you do some art, you're like, you know what? Because my situation changed, or I go to a new country, I need to get a job first. I want to be, I don't know what, a supervisor, auditor for this farm, or you want to change job, a manager for this startup related to architecture. Or just to be a technician in a firm. If whenever you change a position, you have to do it before 35.
Mhm.
After 35, they will
That's-
not give you a chance to change.
I'm not willing to because at the end, in architecture, mostly I draw, which I like. I mean, either I draw on paper or on textile or on computer, and it provides me so much benefits. Like if there were some shit happening last few years, I wasn't so productive, but the reason I'm able to produce because of the office, they give me very strong computers, computing systems, plotters. I plot things in the office, so I'm taking advantage of my job a lot for art. And that's the only thing I could do without going mental breakdown because it feels close to. And
Okay.
now I manage how to switch my brain that two tasks. I think it is not logical for in the very future, in 10, 15 years, I could quit if there's enough demand for my art. Like when I feel very secure, I would just quit and transition. Like I also don't believe in hustling or stuff like that. It's better to focus on only one thing and try to make a transition. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't think it would be very easy to deal with like changing sectors just to switch a work that would provide me a bit more time. It's more mental
Or money
work.
or time or other access. Like it'll be impossible to, at least from my experience, to change sector after 35. And it's almost not possible to change company after 40. Like if you quit the job and not after you're 45, you're like, you quit at 35, at 45, you want to go back, likely they will not take you anymore.
You mean like giving a pause? Pause
Like,
from
like
if I switch full-time
if you
art
switch to art,
and try to go
likely
back.
you can't go back, most probably.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful if this is what you want to do. And I know that this is what you want to do, but how are you able to do it?
Yeah,
When?
especially
That's
architecture
another
is
thing.
very tight with technologies. That's makes it quite impossible to go back after a certain age. That's why I'm not planning to do it any soon or until I feel like completely financially secure. Like
So
in the
yeah.
future, if I would able to sell original works enough, then it will maybe if I make certain exposure like fame, scalability will be like much easier because there's digital works and limited edition prints would be already there. So if I see enough business potential in art, I can completely quit. Now I might do like some months, like 1 or 2 months off from the work. They might allow that to do some residencies or some legit art, like just I can focus myself with art, then go back. I think next 10 years, that would be my routine probably.
I'm as a woman, not the typical one, but I'm more focused on financial security and all the things that sustain life. As I already have an artist at home, you don't want two artists, breathing, living on fresh air, right? So we say that living on the chilling wind from the northwest, like that wouldn't sustain us. So my idea was to find a part-time thing, ideally a passive income that can sustain the whole family, so that 1.5 person can dedicate to the project. So 1.5 is a part-time job for someone, and then the other person is fully in-house and with some flexibility from the second person. So I went into property. So I flip houses. That's what I started when I started in Spain. And that sustained us after 10 years. It has been a good choice. But then my friend, who is quite a renowned artist, who went to Venice Biennale in 2000, I think 13, and I went with him to do a performance. And he said, look what you have done with the 10 years of your life. If you didn't do this, you could have focused on your projects, your art, your whatever you wanted to do. And it's true. But it's, how can I say? Then, if I would marry the rich man, if I would win the lottery, knowing the numbers, there are many things you just don't know. Like going forward, you just don't know.
Affording risk is even harder for women. Yeah, totally. I mean, I could move with my boyfriend partner, and he's coming from more like well-off family from Milan, and he bought a house before 30. I can just move with him, but even about that, I don't feel emotionally and financially safe. I don't want to put myself very financially vulnerable position with any man in the world, even my father, my boyfriend. So there's also that, I think, gender aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I know I cannot be like focusing on fully being financially independent woman, make an identity of it, and focus on art at the same time. For sure, if I had sponsor husband, my art can become better and I had more opportunities.
I totally understand. That's why it took us 10 more years to do what we wanted to do, because that was the only way. Because I've never met a person who grew up in a rented home, who had experienced starvation, and who have faced violence, domestic violence. I've never met someone except for myself, and except for Greg. So we are the two lost souls, stuck together under, I don't know, under a sheet in a hostel forest, and we're like, okay, what am I gonna do? What are we gonna do? So I understand the situation, and it's good
it
not to
totally
depend on
defines you.
anyone, but it will take you a lot longer. And when you look back, you will have the same reflection as me, like, oh, it had taken me so long. It takes time, so the sooner you plan it to work towards the goal, the less time likely it will take you. So if you start planning something now, like in maybe 9 years.
I really, that taught me to thinking in long term, like 10, 15 years. Like I mean, I've also looking at that kind of examples like Irma Blanc, or there are some Italian textile artists. They they were working as high school teachers until 50, until they get recognition. So it is fine, but I would also like to monetize as quick as possible, because why not? People caring and buying it and taking care better than me in their houses, like why not? So yeah, I would
Sure.
really work on portfolio and then catalog and then see.
Yeah, and something unrelated. And I think if you are in a relationship, in a legit relationship with someone, and the society is portraying woman as, as a, I don't know, staying home, mediocre, housewife, gold digger, since the society is already portraying us in such a negative way, then what is stopping you from exploiting that role, right? Like people say, "Oh, well, you with this French, you must be married for the green card, for the passport." And then when I realize people think the reason that I'm with Greg is for that, and I'm like, great, okay, I'm gonna go and get the green card. Because hey, if you don't mention it, I wouldn't remember. Now that I remembered, great. So here we go. I have my permanent residence equal to the citizenship treatment in Spain, and I never had to worry about my papers because, right, like if there are things to take advantage of, and you are blamed and you are automatically default portrayed for taking advantage of, then take advantage of. Because if not, you're losing double, you're losing twice.
That's exactly what I'm going through, but it's a bit of like mental work I need to go through. I think it's like there's so much inner voice in my head. Like I really don't want to get passport through him. Like that's
Listen to the outer voice. If people say, Esra, you're doing it just for the money, you're doing it for the passport, you're doing it because it's easy. Don't listen to the inner voice, because the outer voice is ugly enough. And you just go, okay. So if people already think like, I'm like that, you are like that or not, doesn't matter, right? So it's already a fact that people would automatically take that for granted. Then you take it.
Yeah, I need to work on that.
Because not getting passport through him will not make you look any better, since people are already thinking the stereotype woman in a
It might
relationship
not
is
make me look any better, but it make me feel better.
It makes me feel
I'm
really
such
good
a
to have
free
the passport
spirit.
easy. So tell me, tell me. It makes me feel good when all my friends are like, "Oh, my visa and this and that." I'm like, I'm a permanent resident. I have the same treatment as a citizen, except I cannot be the president and cannot, participate in their national affairs. But I have the same treatment like any other citizen. And most of them don't vote anyway, so I don't miss out. Or even their government, like every 6 months they change president. It's like, who is your president? Yeah, like yeah, because they were like, oh, your president is meeting our president now in Madrid. I'm like, well, I know which one is mine, but which one is yours? Because it changes so fast, like the season, like a fast fashion. So I don't feel like I'm missing out a lot. And I did take advantage of the fact I'm married to a French. So I think
I
you
think
should
also
feel
there's
good about yourself already. Get the
fear.
results.
Yeah, fear of losing the control about decisions, because if I get married with him, if I live in his house without paying rent, it means I will follow his decisions in life. That is
No,
like
it means you
remaining in
saved a
city.
$1,500 a month for the rent. And when you have money in your bank account, you can make all the decisions you want. You can leave him anytime you want because you have money saved.
Yeah, I really need to decide.
And of course, you're gonna choose a nice guy, of course, a person that is not abusive. But for me, the guys are good enough if he's not beating his wife. Like I have
Mhm.
I have weird exes, as as Greg said. I have smart but weird exes, and my bar is quite low.
Low. Okay.
For the bar being so low, I'm lucky to have a good guy. So
Yeah, I think I was reading book about interdependency. There's this British DJ artist Kaya Tempest, like very institutional DJ.
institutional
I-
DJ. Wow, I want to know what it
like in the high-end music, it's like very similar visual arts, contemporary illustration. Some
contemporary
DJs are more
sound art.
established, like they considered as artists. And yeah, I think it's every woman in this era needs to go through this self-talk, because I was so much both the idea of like, because my mom is very 70s feminism ideologically like surrounded woman. So for her, like a woman's economic independence is so important. You need to be independent. You need, like that independence is like so stuck in my head. But now it's like it aligns with capitalistic message, because like dependency or depending, relying on each other is not that big deal, that I need to relearn that like depending each other is actually a good thing, probably.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Our society is made for us
interdependency.
to, someone grow your food.
Yeah.
That's dependent. Why don't you grow your own bananas? Well, it's not tropical, but why don't you grow your own apples? Getting food from supermarket, when you talk about dependence, that is what I think the first reaction, not that I'm married to my husband, right? Like
Mhm.
the most primary needs we have come from someone else.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that, why you're not okay with
By
someone
the way,
paying
I'm not
rent?
yeah, in one of previous talks I will maybe mentioned like being in the nature. When I go visit my family, they have like some olive trees, some basic things they can provide for themselves, and it really relieves so much anxiety for me, like that apocalyptic future conspiracies becomes less scary when I'm with my family, because I see how little can be possible to live with. And yeah, about relation, like in romantic relationship, it's like very, very hard to have a solid opinion and following your emotions, and that fear of being vulnerable altogether. It's a real mental gymnastic, if that makes sense. Mental gymnastic, yeah.
Yeah.
Every woman have to go through, because like there's really so much spectrum. Like one side is like very Bridget, what was that famous Hollywood movie, Bridget Johnson's Diary, kind of like ultra independent woman, but end up lonely because cannot depend on anyone. One side of me is like being scared of becoming that person. Or I want to be so independent, and I feel lonely because of that. Sometimes the other side, like not even what society would think of me if I take advantage of a person that was privileged. It is my inner voice, like that I grow up. No, a woman shouldn't accept that, shouldn't do that kind of thoughts.
That's just some bullshit that other impose on women, right? Like they impose shame. Like I would say I've tried a lot of things in my life. The only thing I didn't try is to make money through sex, through intercourse or other gestures. I guess there are a million other alternatives, but in the providing service.
Mhm.
And sometimes I think, why not? Well, I'm too old for that, but I'm like, why not? Why didn't I try? Because this is just society's impose to make us behave a certain way.
Oh, I don't know.
The more barrier you
Yeah.
break, the freer you are.
Yes, that's an ethical discussion, but also it's a political discussion because, like, prostitution through female body is not something that I can support that business. Like, legitimizing that, I think, is a problem because it is not a choice. Like, that women, they are not choosing to do that, they are just obliged. And in the context of financial difficulties, we cannot take the words what
I
these
don't mean
women are saying.
prostitution directly. No, no.
Uh.
It's more like, for example, in Japan, if a wife divorce a husband, she would get a pension, like a minimal income
Yeah, also in
support
Turkey.
until
Yeah.
she marries again or until she dies. So a part of the man's unemployment pension actually goes to the woman. It's more like a divorce pension, if you may call it. And that, for me, is treating sex service with money. Because there's a direct link between you're married to this man, you're providing this sex as service or companionship, if you may say, or through your body, and then whenever the situation changes, you are still paid, and when the situation don't change, you are still paid a pension when you retire by law. So it's like there's a link
In
between
Turkey,
getting paid and having sex.
It is not connected with sex. It's more like domestic labor, because even in minimum wage of a worker in Turkey, it is calculated, although it is very low paid, but if their wives are not working, so it makes visible that invisible domestic labor. Also in the court,
Definitely.
if the woman shows that, like, she needs to take care of the children, then I think that money is well deserved.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
because I
again, that
think,
protects women. Yeah.
yeah, I think to my knowledge in Japan, the woman don't need to justify that she had children or she had any service to the household.
I just
Just by
pension.
granted, she gets money. So that's
Oh.
why I assume, because marriage is a contractual and sexual relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed. So maybe it's not the best example, but what I mean is I was put in so much shame for almost every behavior. In China, woman's feet is too big, it's shameful. Then they break the bones to make the feet very tiny. And my grandmother had tiny feet. You become paralyzed, you cannot walk.
Yeah, I saw a
Foot
documentary
binding, it was a culture. The
about
foot
that.
binding. Yeah. So there's so much shame for everything you say, you think, you do. And sometimes I think the best way to kind of break free is just to do everything they tell me I'm not supposed to do.
Yeah, but even in that provocative artworks about female body, if I am in that camp, believe that if you don't have control on the gaze, it is not that impactful what you are doing with your body, because the narrative and the gaze defines the work no matter what you are saying. So, like, taking out of poetry from your vagina, okay, it's provocative or it's just aiming to shock people and it's successful in that manner, but I cannot see as a feminist help, or if it helps any ways, any means to feminist people.
Yeah, the male gaze is a big subject in the film world. I have only met one woman successfully, more or less successfully, get rid of the male gaze. She's a paralyzed, elderly countryside lady who taught herself how to read and write, and she is a erotic poet who write about sex. Yeah, and
Wow.
and it's more like platonic sex because it's not like she would be practicing. But that was a very touching story, and there are videos. There was also I interviewed the filmmaker who made a documentary on that, on her life, and it
Wow.
was a very strange case. We only had one out of, I don't know, 100 years we had our country, contemporary China. In the last 100 years, we only had one woman like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it exists, but
Yeah, it exists, but because of that, defined by sensibilities about her story.
because it's not male gazeable.
Yeah,
Males don't want to gaze her that way.
we invent a word.
You have a different struggle because if you don't want a male gaze you like a sexy woman, you will fail because you are.
Yeah.
So then you have to work with it. Go with
Yeah.
it. Not like Tai Chi, not boxing, but Tai Chi. You go with the flow and then twist it in a way you want. Yeah. Yeah, long way to go. But think about, you only need to be married, if I'm not wrong, if according to the Spanish local law, you only need to be married 1.5 years. After you can be divorced or widowed, you still keep your paperwork and all your privilege like if you were married.
Mhm.
So you only need to kind of do it if even if you don't want for the period of time until you have
Mhm.
things in order. Because now you are on a 5-year visa, 5-year
I
residence.
still didn't receive. I am officially a clandestine. I cannot even go back home, my country.
You can ask for a certificate of re-entry. It takes some
It's
time to ask.
unbelievable, but they just say no, just wait a bit more. Like, because it's a small police station. If I was in Milan, probably I could try others. But since I start my official practice here, I cannot move anywhere else. And there are a bunch of idiots, and even city mayor, I text him through Instagram, explain everything. Oh, I get you, but I don't know if I can do that much. I went there with my boss, with my boyfriend, with my friend. Like, nothing works, and it's a huge problem all Italy, but it is very annoying too that I cannot even, if I really try so hard, I can probably generate at one point visa to go back my home.
You can get a re-entry authorization. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we
yeah.
do it in Spain when your
Yeah.
paper is in the renewal process because it takes us half a year to
Yeah,
renew
it's
a 1-year visa. So if for at least 50% of the time you cannot go anywhere. So that is what happens to the migrants or students for the residence or estancia and residencia is the same. So imagine if you have permanent residence or nationality, it will be so much easier and it doesn't cost them anything. You can just say, we just do it for the paperwork. We're not really married. I still live in where I live. Voila.
Mm. Yeah. I literally filled the form of visto di rientro, and I went with that, and they said, no, you need no, here you need a solid reason to go back country. I think I need to
You just
bring.
make up a reason like your family is in hospital and you have a
I
remote
need to
cousin.
do that. That's
You know,
why.
at any point there is one cousin in hospital, broken leg or whatever, you know.
No, it needs to be first degree.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to hospitalize my father probably, which I don't want to, but yeah, if I have to, if I don't receive in the following 3 months, probably I will do that. It's very
You
annoying.
mean to be able to go back and visit?
Yes, because it's already almost 2 years, I don't have it, so I cannot
2
go
years?
there. Yeah.
How long is the visa? How long is the residence card?
It will be 5 years, but on repeat. Like, I don't need to do entire thing anymore again. Every 5 years, I just need to show up.
Yeah,
So
auto
it's like
renewal.
5 years and 5 years, but I have to live in Schengen area like 9 months in a year, something like that.
Yeah.
Then, if I get that one, in 2 years, I can apply passport.
Yeah, sure.
So it would be more or less the same with marriage. Like, if I do through marriage or through by myself.
Yeah, but once you have the passport, no matter how you got it, you have a passport. So I'm
yeah.
result oriented. So whichever
And
way you
considering
finish
how
faster.
fascist history of Italian government, they are very, very blood
years.
oriented.
I cannot imagine. I waited 183 days or something like that, half a year, and I was pissed. I'm like, like I was pissed for waiting 6 months, but 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. Oh my God. Yeah, because I knew you were renewing like 2 years ago. We had a discussion. I thought in the middle you probably already renewed like the 1 year and then,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier still even if you want a passport. It has more way and more in favor to your application if you're married.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So just
Definitely.
do
If
the
you are
paperwork. It takes 15 minutes. I did it. 15 minutes in the
yeah,
office.
they
You sign the
respect
paper. That's
so
it.
much in marriage. Like a family is such a big thing here. Like you are living a lone woman, immigrant woman, who cares? Like they literally do nothing about my practice. And if I was married, they would like for sure sold everything by now.
Yeah, but why not? You have this golden key in your hand. You never
Yeah.
used it.
No, now I'm so blocked. Even if I want, I can't get married. I need because without that, without valid residency, like I'm in the blacklist of PayPal, and I can't have my Revolut last 2 years. I'm using like we have shared account, so it's like even international banking, I have like massive problems. For the marriage at the end, I need to provide some documents. I cannot get married
We
without.
also get required a lot different papers like know your customer, the KYC form I need to fill every year. And because Greg, we have a conjoint account, and he forgot to fill his and got our account blocked with 3 mortgage payment. And I was like, it's blocked. What am I gonna do with my mortgage? It's silly. Then I had to run there and then fill it on his behalf with his digital signature, pretending that it was him filling it. It was all like this whole crisis of the whole day. I didn't do nothing, just running to different branches of different banks. One said, "No, this is not. I'm your bank, not your husband's bank. You have to go to another office." And I was going everywhere. It was hell. And if you're okay to use a bank with this guy, you're not okay to share a legal status. If you share the pillow and the bank, you already shared the majority of your life anyway. Hey, like. If you can eat the food from the same plate, share the same bed, and share same bank account, what else you don't share? So I think it's probably you totally should. And you can get married when your paperwork is in the tramite, in the process. You can. There are ways to do it. As long as you're not illegal here, you're not illegal here because your paperwork is still pending.
Yeah.
So I think you can still get
I'm
married.
very legal in Italy. Like everyone knows me.
Then
Like,
you can
I'm
get
very
married.
legit.
That's the only thing you need to do. You
Like
get married.
even my driving license is Italian now. I don't have Turkish one because you can convert only one direction. So I have to give up my driving license. So I'm very legit. Like in Turkey, actually, I have no phone number, no banking, no registration in architecture
So
order.
because you're a legal resident with it's like if you lost your paper in a robbery, like you just don't have it, but you're legal, you can get married. To my knowledge, it might need some convincing certain steps, but you can with the recent certificate to say your query is still under treatment in process. You can. I think you totally should. We're in February. I think it's an excellent, time to get married in May, have an outdoor ceremony, in a cafe, just don't invite anyone. Or if the mayor does it, I don't know if the mayor does it in the office, just pay for the administrative fee, 15 minutes in and out, you sign your signature, you're married, and it solves all the problems.
Yeah. Luckily, I choose a typical North Italian guy who's the slowest person in the planet Earth. Like, it's very slow by nature. But yeah, at one point, I will do it probably.
Yeah, cool. Why not? If you're happy with this guy.
Okay, you convinced me one more thing today.
This is what I
Close
would
this
say.
call. Because
The first thing
I'm
is
sorry,
to make
but
your
I
mom
need
work.
to out-resource my art with my mom. I need to get married now. So much.
And then don't quit your job until you are
Okay, that's also
until
nice.
you know you will not come back, because
Yeah.
likely with age, I mean, time flies. You make your art 10 years later, if whatever reason you want to get a side gig, likely they will not take you. So when instead of making a career change,
Mm-hmm.
think it as an early retirement.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You also have to look at your social security. They have paid long enough, let's say 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do early retirement. You wait until you are 65 to get a pension. In the middle,
71 in Italy.
ah, ah, ah,
Yeah.
people live that long. Oh my God.
People live that long here in this country. People really live so long and they work so long. Like
Oh,
prime time for an architect is 55 here.
55 in China is when women retire.
Yeah, in Turkey is like that, but here like really after 35 they take you seriously
Yeah,
in the work scene, and 35 to 55 you make the most money.
they say the
That's also
compound,
that's why I don't want to
growth.
quit so early in architecture, although like I won't earn that much in construction business. There's lots of money, but my role is not there, but still I have more earning potential that I don't want to miss completely.
Yeah,
If I continue what I'm doing, I will increase my salary and I don't want to give up on that completely.
Yeah, just think early retirement, whenever you accumulate enough savings and pension, like money, then you do the switch and then you never go back. So you know for the rest of your life, you can dedicate to the project you want to make. I think it's a more safer choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even safer if you're married to a guy with resources. Hey,
Yes.
hey, hey. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Cool.
Thank you
Nice
so much.
chatting with you. And I hope next month, you say, I called my mom. She's now suing with a machine for me.
I hope next month I will have more art in my back wall, so I would speak with more confidence.
Totally.
Okay.
You will.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Take care, and
yeah.
thank you so much for today.
Pleasure chatting.